Greetings from the North Shore of Oahu. We're here for the final event of the 2017 season, the Billabong Pipe Masters, in loving memory of Andy Irons, and trying to get this first round completed here this morning with some fun-looking conditions here at the pipe. Some vision of our competitors arriving earlier on. Ian Gouveia, the Brazilian rookie, looking for a strong finish to the season. It's been a challenging year for Ian, but he is a great barrel rider and could fare pretty well in this contest.
So this peak,
that peak,
and backward. No
all the way to
left.
backward, no off the wall.
Off the wall left.
Yeah. So we're going to start at 9:45.
Earlier on, Ian just enjoying a warm-up. As you can see, those big barrels not really on offer, but it's going to see a different brand of surfing here today on day 9 of the event window as we look to complete this first round, the first heat. Plenty of big names in this one. It's going to be super exciting to see this former Vans Triple Crown champion, Sebastian Zietz, wrapping up what has been another strong year as a championship tour surfer. Sebastian's going to be surfing against a man that's had plenty of success in this event in the past, Adrian Buchan from Australia and Ian Gouveia. Ronnie Blakey joined by a former Big Wave Tour champion and a man that's been posted up here on the North Shore for almost 2 months now.
It's been a while, Ronnie, it has.
Great to see you, Pete, and looking forward to getting competition back underway today.
Well, you've looked at what we've seen pretty much on the forecast, and it hasn't been great. So we're left getting some heats done now.
And here we go. This is going to be the first wave of the day, and it's Adrian Buchan from Australia letting go of a couple of turns, threatening a barrel there for a moment. But like we said, we're going to see a different style of surfing here at Pipe today. Sebastian Zietz up now. Nice cut down carve into a brilliant little closeout hit.
Well, you got some northeast swell kind of been around in the Pacific. Pretty much we've seen a ton of it for the last month and a half, 2 months here. And a lot of northwest swell on the drop right now. So you've got Ian Gouveia mostly going to be rights today. There may be an occasional short left, but you can see the majority is going to be this northeast swell that's going to be up from the gum section, which is towards the east, and then some backdoor sections as we watch some good replays here. I mean, it's going to be high performance today. I mean, it's going to be tough to find a barrel. There will be some on offer, but I think that most of these guys are going to be looking for turns. I expect a lot of energy in the water so that there's going to be, you know, for a shortboard, you're going to see some errors.
Big opportunity for Sebastian Zietz with a strong finish to the year to crack the top 10. Sitting in 11th position at the moment. Still waiting on the numbers to come through from that opening exchange, just on 26.5 minutes to go. We know the conditions are tough, but it doesn't make this event any less important. And really the decision to get going is to ensure that we get the final stages of this contest run in some pretty decent conditions. Right now, let's get the official word from the commissioner. With Kaipo, it's Kieran Parra.
Thank you, Ron. KP, we're on, round 1's on, but a little bit of a different pipeline for us today. Where exactly is the playing field? Because I noticed we have, you know, Sebastian Zietz at the Gums Peak, and then we have Ace Buchan over at the Backdoor Peak. So where can the surfers surf today?
Yeah, well, interestingly, we came here this morning, we had pretty rough conditions early. The wind was still blowing on shore. Things have settled down now. The wind's come back a lot lighter. So yeah, that's the reason we got underway. And some great little opportunities out there. It's not exactly normal pipeline, but given the forecast over the next few days, we're going to take what we can get with the wind. And what that means, usually when it's a little smaller, we want to open up the opportunity. So that we open up the scoring over through to Gums, which is, you know, to the right-hand side of Pipe. And they can also surf backdoor, and they're drifting down towards off the wall. There's a mix of swells in the water today, so providing enough chance for the surfers to get waves.
We have round 2 on standby. We go into a different format with overlapping heats in round 2. Can you give us a little more insight on that?
Yeah, so that's a way for us to be able to finish the event here in the 4 days that we're given with the permit, and the overlapping heats. We will start with that in round 2 if we continue on. We'll be analysing these first 2 heats and seeing what kind of opportunity and scoring is available, and deciding whether to continue on with round 2 today.
Well, there you go, guys. We're up and running for another day here at the Billabong Pipe Masters. And if you got to go anywhere, remember, make sure you have that mobile app on your mobile device. Got the WSL app on your app store. Get it so you can go anywhere and just keep on following the action, Ron.
Thank you, Kipes. Have a good day, mate. And Kieran Parra, of course, a former pipe master. He obviously wants to get these competitors, Pete, into the best conditions possible, but sometimes that forecast can work against you, and at this stage of the game with this non-elimination round still yet to be completed, this is a great opportunity to get these heats done and potentially move into the second round.
Well, and he had mentioned in regards to the winds that this is some of the better conditions we've had, and it's true. I mean, we had a major swell come through for the last few days. With that swell, of course, that northwest wind, which is just straight onshore. And now finally we've got some light winds, sunshine is out, so get competition underway. I know it's not your typical pipeline, but you know what? These are the best surfers in the world, and they will entertain us.
Also, you've got to think back to some of the heats that we watched in the first round of competition so far. Julian Wilson laid down a couple of big airs in his heat, and that was in conditions that weren't even really providing the optimal sections for launching into the air. Today we're going to see that, I think. That wind's backed off, and it's going to be favourable for those kind of moves.
Totally agree. You know, and again, there's so much power in the ocean here that even a 3-4 foot wave is giving you plenty of energy. And you know, these lips are here just begging for it. We've seen it throughout this winter already. Some of the biggest airs we've ever seen. John, Gabriel flips. You know, Italo going down there off the wall doing his thing. I mean, it's been entertaining to watch all of that.
And it always is. But like you said, so much clout in this ocean. As we see Sebastian tucking in, finding a bit of cover off the takeoff there, driving up into this section. Nice little hook in the pocket. And he goes a little harder on this final turn, but can't quite stick it. It just feels like these competitors at this stage, Pete, are building their numbers. I think once we see one of these competitors establish a bit of a lead and get a couple of reasonable numbers on the board, we'll see a bit more risk added to some of these moves.
Totally agree. And, you know, and they still feel like when you see a barrel, it's going to get scored.
Here goes Adrian Buchan. A nice hit there. It's been a busy man, Adrian Buchan, this season, just recently launching a new company, a Waco. Make sure you go and check that out. A pretty interesting service that he's looking to provide to traveling surfers. But at the moment, 22 minutes to go. Ace has got a different kind of work in mind. He wants to get himself in front, avoid that dreaded second round. Here's the replay of Sebastian's ride.
Yeah, so there you go. Quick little barrel into the whip, and then goes for a bit of innovation, but can't hang on. But using some of the new technology from Channel Islands, Spine Tech, which he says he loves that board.
Ace is up. This is live action. Beautiful hit there, driving down the line. Looking for more, a bit of bump on the face. Ooh. And as a result, he loses that back foot and goes down.
So again, these surfers are kind of in different regions on the reef. And we'll bring that up so you can check it out in a minute. But there's been a rip that has been pulling through the pipeline lineup with all of this direction of swell that we've had. And it pulls all that sand out onto the top of the reef at pipeline. See what he does here. He gets that nice first snap, but then look at all the bump, and that's that rip. It takes that water and ruffles it up. It makes it so hard to engage the fins. First turn's nice, though. You see he's got that backhand hook just right in the spot. Vertical approach, and then there you see it goes into the rip. And at that point, you've got little 2-foot waves to crawl over, and that's just so difficult to keep that board engaged through the bottom turn.
That's one of the most successful backhand turns on tour. It's taken Adrian to some great finishes. As we see Sebastian now up and trying to extend his lead. There's that extra risk that we were talking about. You can expect a lot of that today. There's a bit more swell, a bit more consistency in the number of waves you're going to see ridden.
Blue and white.
And as a result, you'll see surfers taking a little bit more chance. So Sebastian with those two medium scores, a 5.33 and a 4.67, now starting to put the foot down. So 20 minutes to go here, and the situation, Sebastian Zeitz out in front, Adrian Buchan. He's chasing a small number to get in front, as is Ian Gouveia, but it gives us a good opportunity now between waves to have a look at the lineup, Pete, and talk to me about the effect at the moment of that swell and just the sand that's been built up on the reef.
Yeah, and this is the area in which the rip pulls out. And what that does is it pulls all that sound and it sets it on top of the reef, which makes it a little bit difficult to find lefts off the main pipeline section. But you can see right here is the backdoor section, and here's gums. And gums can have this area where this little piece of reef right here is good for you know, the bigger set waves, but that's where you'll see Sebastian Zeitz sitting. And then this section here, the backdoor section, is where you'll see Ian Govea and Ace Buchan surfing. So that section, you know, off the walls had some surf, you know, in that zone too. But with all of that, you know, you're going to see kind of two different peaks being used today.
With that extra sand on the reef, the surf is going to feel more comfortable attacking those end sections. I think they might. I see we've seen Sebastian Zeitz have a crack at a couple of decent high-risk manoeuvres already, but unsuccessful so far. But it definitely feels that the surfers are willing to throw themselves into the sky over those end sections, where on those days where the reef is right there under the surface, they're a little more reluctant at times.
Well, when you look at the gum section where you see Sebastian sitting, is that, you know, with the northeast direction, that zone picks up a lot of swell. I mean, in that direction of swell is really where you see a lot of the energy will focus. And again, northeast moves kind of past the pipeline section. It moves down towards the off-the-wall section. So you'll see just the rights in that zone. But I mean, you'll see a couple lefts off this peak, and that's what we get to see from Sebastian.
He's staying busy. This is right. Number 5 for Sebastian. Unsuccessful there on the finish.
You know, and he's out there with, you know, epoxy technology, so he's feeling a little extra life in that board.
Bucking up at the moment. Having to deal with those bumps. And he's over that way, so he's going to kick out. 17.5 minutes to go. Still looking for a pretty decent number to get himself out in front at this stage. Sebastian's work in the opening stages of Heat 10 of round 1 paying off at the moment.
Well, there's a first little left to get to see here from Sebastian. Again, he is loving these types of conditions because there is just so many opportunities. And he's surfing by himself, so he doesn't have to worry about priority. It really looks a lot more challenging surfing the section that you see Ace is at, because first of all, that end section is going to have reef. It's not going to have sand. So it's going to make it a little bit tougher to really go extra big because it is so shallow. And those rocks are right there begging to be hit with a board or your body, whereas the gum section, all sand. So we'll see, it seems a little cleaner in that area up towards gums. But you'll see a lot of the size kind of focusing down here on backdoor.
Just over 16.5 minutes to go. Sebastian Zeitz still out in front. He's been one of our favourite surfers to watch in the Vans Triple Crown Strider, stitching up a title back in 2012. What have you made of his approach out there this morning?
Well, it's interesting. You know, he went for a warm-up surf over there. Got a couple of nice little waves with sandbars, was really feeling it. Reminded him of a place back home. And he was out here and he loves it. And he's just snapping up into the lip. As you can see right there, another vertical slam again. So, you know, he's really feeling the sandbar. He got a nice wave. He went up to the judges' tower, asked the commissioner and the judges, can I surf over here at Gums? They said yes, directly in front of the tower, but don't go over there in front of Aukai, in front of the beach park. So he went up, did some research, some homework. He's over here, he's winning the heat. These guys are kind of in the rip over there, kind of struggling on the backdoor side.
Yeah, it does look a little lumpy on that side, doesn't it? But he's doing well at the moment. Sebastian Zeitz, another solid wave just now. And he might get rid of that 4.67 and get a little further ahead here. But I love that moment, Pete, when Sebastian won that Vans Triple Crown title. And he was basically out of contention for qualification that year. Had a magic run, won over there at Haleiwa, came to Sunset, got a second, and then finished in the quarterfinals here at the Billabong Pipe Masters. And well, the local crew on the beach, they gave him one of the best chairs to the podium that we've ever seen.
As we watch the replay here, beautiful vertical approach on that next turn. Feels like this is going to better his situation slightly. But you wonder if that was something that just kind of, was it preconceived? Did they think about doing something like that? Or was it just matter of fact, just kind of happened randomly? I mean, feels like it was pretty impulsive to me.
Yeah, they got a board and basically put Sebastian standing up on top of it and carried that board all the way to the podium and he was crowned Triple
Heck
Crown
of a lot
champion.
easier than doing it on the shoulders, right?
Oh, that's right. Well, he's just dropped to 5.27. He's extended his lead. Adrian Buchan and Ian Gouveia chasing. Great to have your company as we get competition back underway here at the Billabong Pipe Masters. We've been talking about the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing. That title's still up for grabs in 2017, with Griffin Colapinto leading the charge but not making the main event here after being given an opportunity in the Pipe Invitational. So that improves Chloe Andino's chances, sitting in a great spot. A couple more heats should do it for him. But at the moment, Sebastian Zietz, who won this title back in 2012, is in control with a couple of mid-range 5-point rides. Adrian Buchan and Ian Gouveia sitting on a different section out here in the lineup, and it's pretty bumpy. Ian Gouveia had this one during the break.
Well, it's a little deeper, the water, so it's not going to stand up as vertical on that outside section, but generally you see the size is lifted, and occasionally, probably one of those barrel sections will come into that zone. But as you can see, it's pretty tough to surf. I mean, there's a lot of rip pulling through. And that's, again, the angle of the swell just pulls that rip right on through that zone. Watching the replay of Ian Gouveia, you know, and he's been able to put some okay numbers up here. You know, he's been surfing really well throughout this season, just hasn't had the heat winds. Once again, nice, beautiful first snap. And then that section there is so hard to keep it together, and he does. So we're seeing this will be one of Ace's better numbers here. Again, you watch his approach and where he puts that board, so vertical. I mean, he does that type of snap on all sorts of waves. They look almost identical. And then look at, he goes over the bump, finds the last section there again, attacks it, and hangs on.
And that's what's been missing for Ace in this heat. He's had some of the best individual turns, but hasn't found that second maneuver. That one should see him log a pretty decent score. Ian Gouveia is about to put up his best number as well. But no losers in this round. But a huge opportunity. If you can snatch a win, you'll be jumping past round 2 into round number 3. But a big number has just dropped for Buchan, an 8-point ride. So he is now out in front. Sebastian Zietz needs a 5.51 to reclaim the lead, and Ian Gouveia, well, he's looking for a 6.51 to jump up into first.
Well, I guess that's the idea of sitting on the backdoor peak, is that when you get a section, it's going to be a little bit more critical. It's going to be a little bit bigger than the gum section. You're going to get more opportunity at the gum section, and you're also going to get those those end sections that will probably provide maybe some innovation progression part of that criteria, some errors. So you kind of have to figure out, you know, who and what's going to be the best place for your style of surfing.
Here goes Ian Gouveia competing in his first Pipe Masters event. Floats up over that first section. trying to link his turns together and just find some flow through to this inside. The opportunity for something solid, and he delivers a nice vertical hit. Behind him, we've got Sebastian Zietz up, lightning fast off the top, but just the one manoeuvre on offer there. Feel a bit bad for Ian Gouveia. For some rookies, you want to get to the Pipe Masters and have maybe the conditions be a little smaller. For him, he's hoping that it's throbbing and just throwing because he's such a good barrel rider, and here he is having to really rely on moves.
Well, it's interesting because the strengths will change throughout each individual competitor. You know, if you know some of these conditions like today would suit them better than others. But I agree. I think that you're right. If it was big pipeline, you know, Ian would be so happy being on the right foot forward, the goofy foot, getting barreled at pipeline. But now it's pretty much all on the backhand, and it's really like a beach break. But if you could take into consideration, this is probably similar to what we'd see on maybe one of the QS events. You have to take that kind of motivation and go out there and go, you know what? I'm just going to tear the ribbons out of it and make it happen. You got to make it happen. Replay of up at the gum section again. Look at this one beautiful hack. Not much after that, though, so I don't know if that's going to help him. Needing the 5.51, I think he needed another maneuver there to solidify that score to move back over ace. But he's sticking to his guns, staying up there at gum section.
Well, we've enjoyed Barton Lynch's insights throughout the season, and we're lucky to have him here again here at the Billabong Pipe Masters. Barton, what have you made of this first heat of the day?
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You know, three surfers all surfing more or less different peaks. I'm pretty much right in front on the stand, and the judges are right in front of where Seabass is. It looks the prettiest. The colours are beautiful. It looks like the funnest place to surf as he's up and riding on this one. Nice little wall in front of him. He's pumping and driving down the face. What's he going to get here? He's going to go to the air or something. No, decides there's nothing in it, so cuts out. But it is prettier out in front, but it doesn't seem to have the impact. The size in the face, the wall. Where ace is, you saw that 2-turn 8, which is a favourite sort of score in a beach break condition of the judges. Dropped it for those two beautiful backhand re-entries. And then Ian Gouveia is another, I don't know, 50 to 100 metres further down towards off the wall. And he's surfing away from the judges. And looking at the scores, obviously they've got the replay, which is fantastic, because where I'm sitting, where the judges are sitting in real time, you can't really see the back end of Ian's ride. Only that first turn, and then you're kind of watching it bend down the beach. So a really interesting heat for everybody who's in an upcoming heat to be watching, because three different breaks, three different opportunities, and interesting scores coming through. Seems like ace at backdoor is kind of picked the best of both, all those three worlds. I think it's bigger, like got the size of off the wall, but it's got more punch than it does out in front. Out in front where Seabass is, looks a little weak and a little soft.
And that perspective from the judges' tower is really everything, and it's working out pretty well for Adrian Buchan at the moment, who is holding on to the lead and only looking to get rid of a 2.83 to extend. Just on 6.5 minutes to go. We're going to dive into the heat recap. Things getting started once again here at the Billabong Pipe Masters on day 9 of the event window.
Well, and when you look at this recap, you're going to see the difference in size of the wave. Pretty much is going to be the difference in size of the scores. I mean, the impact of the maneuvers that were done on the 8-point ride from Ace Buchan really is the major difference. You look at these scores here from Sebastian Zietz, the 5.33. This was just the one maneuver there from Ace Buchan. Actually, no, this is the 2.83. And then he's able to get one that's similar in a much bigger way. But this is how clean it is over on that gum section. But again, not having quite the impact that you would have as the best ride of the heat, which is close to 2.5 points higher than anything else, which is really a distinct advantage. Again, the first maneuver so critical, straight up in the lip, and then he gets another one. And he completes the ride. He almost disappears from the judges right here. I mean, we didn't get to see him finish, but if you're up there on the tower, you would have seen him disappear for a moment and then come out the bottom. Again, more high impact.
So precise, that backhand too. You know, surgeon like Adrian Buchan on the backhand, just driving up into that first section. You kind of know what you're going to get, but it's still always impressive, and it ticks those boxes on the judging criteria. And as a result, he banks the highest number of the heat so far. Can't really talk up enough how big an event this is for Ian Gouveia. You know, he's one of those guys that, even though he doesn't have a chance on the qualifying series, he has a glimmer of hope with a big finish here in the CT. He's got to go a long way through the draw, but at this stage, he can still overtake some surfers at the back end of the top 22. as we see Joel Parkinson, the 2012 Pipe Masters and world champion, heading out for his round 1 effort.
Yeah, so you're looking at the scoreline of where he needs to be. I mean, generally he's got to make semis in order to even have a chance. You know, and that'll always have to consider what the surfers above him do. But at that point, it's like, yeah, it's going to be his biggest result of his career.
All these guys need is a chance sometimes, and then you can see that really inspired performance. Ian's out there at the moment, kind of struggling to stay on pace with Adrian Buchan.
Well, here's another surfer too, Leo Fioravanti, who's in that similar situation where he needs a big result. He is not high enough on that qualifying series, so this is where his dream run has to happen in order to re-qualify for next year, or else we're just going to see him on the QS.
We'll keep you up to date with those surfers struggling to re-qualify or fighting to re-qualify as we move through these last few heats of the first round and potentially into round 2. That call still hasn't been made as we see Sebastian Zietz throw everything under the lip there. Didn't ride out, but that equipment is certainly looking alive under his feet.
Yeah, well, again, it's the EPS, which means it's got a different style core than probably his competitors are riding in this heat. He's also got carbon strips, which are a way to have flex throughout the sport that are different than normal flex you'd have in polyurethane boards. Gives you a little extra zest, and like I said, it's his same design that he rides as far as the model, a Rook 1.5, a Rook 15, but with a new technology in that spine tech from Channel Islands.
3 minutes to go. Ian Gouveia up. He's got a big forehand air reverse, but he's going to go to the corrupt flip. Doesn't quite ride out of it.
Almost. And that's the kind of stuff I think we need to see. I want to start seeing that type of surfing happening here. Just the conditions are perfect for it. You know, I got this light wind. Again, lots of power in the wave to be able to get some pop and tons of opportunities. You know, that's the other part of it is you're going to see wave after wave after wave. I mean, you look at this heat already, you know, close to 20 waves ridden. Beautiful style, gets the grab. Again, the rotation, you see the unique. It's like a double grab, which pulls the board to your feet. And it felt like he maybe held on a little too long to get the release out of it, but he did give it a good effort.
That wave really flattened out on him too, unfortunately. But I just like that he tried something different. You know, Ian's got that air reverse out of the pocket that he can go to, but we see it so often from a lot of surfers at the QS level, also on the championship tour. So for him to go for something a little different,
it's a natural rotation, you know, and
it's good to
like
see.
Yeah, like an off the lip, you're going to get that kind of rotation. So it's you know, an easier style. I mean, even they talk about, a lot of the aerialists will say that a big straight air is a bit more difficult than an air reverse, just because of the natural rotation that makes you want to have that grab and to get any kind of really true pop with a big straight air, frontside air, or a lean air. A bit more challenging for sure, just to be able to keep it stylish. The landing sometimes can be, you know, I mean, although pretty dynamic to see a big air reverse too.
I love a big straight air. And you know, sometimes I feel like there's a lot of credit for that rotation. But like you said, you know, if the best aerialists are saying that a big straight air is more difficult,
you best be listening.
Yeah, that's my feeling. Just over a minute remaining here. Adrian Buchan holding on to the lead.
Well, I mean, you start to correlate what different, you know, aspects that use aerials as a part of their sport. Skateboarding, snowboarding. You know, in snowboarding, you're strapped, right? So it's a little bit different there. Whereas skateboarding, your medium doesn't move, first of all, and your board is much smaller. So, you know, the difficulties are going to be different in the types of airs that are happening within the three sports.
Well, just on 35 seconds remaining now, Ian Gouveia, he's chasing a 6.51. Sebastian Zietz, who held the lead for the majority of this heat, is now looking for a 5.51. It's really anyone's at this stage, but time is running out. 20 seconds to go. A lot of separation between the competitors, so priority not so much an issue at this stage for Sebastian Zietz. He just needs a wave, and he's trying to get into this one. And he's up before the hooter and loading up. A little hit to set up this turn. He throws everything into it, but doesn't quite ride out. So the heat comes to a close. Adrian Buchan sitting out in front and really taking that heat on the strength of that 8-point ride. He never even really needed a solid backup. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we've got a former pipe master hitting the lineup, a surfer in the running for the Rookie of the Year title, and a man that's desperate to keep his place on the championship tour. A win in the Billabong Pipe Masters and you will be immortalised in the sport. And that title is up for grabs again here in 2017 with an all-star cast gunning for the title. We've got a former pipe master out there at the moment in Joel Parkinson up against the Italian Leonardo Fioravanti. But Joel getting things started during the break.
Well, there you go. There is going to be a few barrels out there and Joel will find them. So comfortable, especially going on the back door. Also picking up a wave, Leo Fioravanti, just the one maneuver and falls on the second. And a quick one for Conor O'Leary. So everyone getting started. I mean, again, lots of opportunity with the way the conditions are set up. You know, and if you start watching heats, you're going to sit there and pay attention. You're going to see what the judges are scoring, and then you're going to try and apply your strategy out there.
Here's our lineup for Heat 11 of round one. Joel, the veteran, how many more Pipe Masters does he have in him? Conor O'Leary getting his first shot at a Pipe Masters event. And Leonardo, we know just how sharp a competitor this kid is and just how far he could go through this draw. He's one guy that you would definitely not discount in chasing a big result and getting himself back on the tour for next year.
And you do recall, I mean, he had one of his most major injuries right here at Pipeline. He slammed the bottom and broke his back. So he had to fight back from that and qualify. And he did it 1 year, which is pretty darn amazing considering, you know, you break your back and then all of a sudden qualify the next season.
You're right, yeah. He had major surgery to his back and had screws and then had to have them removed later on. But it was a pretty remarkable comeback. And Leonardo, so brave, went straight back out into the lineup here at Pipe as soon as he could, just to shake off those demons. But we've got a decent number for Joel Parkinson on his first wave, Pete, a 5.83. Conor O'Leary now taking off, driving off the bottom. Always super explosive, but just went a little hard on that first turn and went down.
Yeah, there will be a few of those laps being on offer. So I'm sure those goofy footers will keep an eye on that.
25.5 minutes to go here. A bit of a break in the action. We'll say a big good morning to Richie Porter, the head judge. How are you, Rich?
Hello, lads.
Mate, thanks for taking the time to have a chat. A really interesting day for the Pipe Masters here, Rich. We know we're heavily focused on the barrel riding aspect here at Pipe usually, but today it feels like the turns are really going to pay off.
Yeah, these days are fascinating, right? Because it's not the normal pipe, but there are some really good waves, and we've seen some good surfing. Ace got his 2-turn combo in on that critical section at backdoor for the 8, and Joel's just then got the nice barrel and a nice little turn for the high 5, and we're going to see some great surfing. It's not 8-foot pipe. We all get that, but it's still going to be really good competition, and it's up to the surface. You know, obviously we're into our second heat now, and we've got 2 and 1 split on the whole peripheral of the bank. Hang on, we'll just watch Joel here.
Well, Parker loads up on that first section. Smooth bottom turn, but the wave just kind of fades away on him. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, and Leo's now sticking to backdoor, so it's fascinating for the coaches and the surfers to go, well, where's the best opportunity to get me the 2 waves that I need to progress through the heat? And we, you know, I like these days because they are different, and we watch. It's all about surfing. And hang on, I'll just watch Leo now.
Trying to make something of this wave on the end section. Just gets his board just on top of the lip enough to complete that float. But Pete, you had a question for Rich.
Yeah, Rich, I mean, I've seen you come here bright and early, and knowing that we're getting back into the waiting period. I mean, how has the discussions been in regards to a very less than stellar forecast in regards to running these last few heats and, you know, the rest of the event?
Yeah, and what we do at this point in the forecast, and at this point in how many days we've got left, is we work from the end game, which is the final, and backwards. So no one really can assure us in any of the forecasters, and everyone's looking at the same sort of stuff, 2 or 3 full days of nice clean offshore with swell. So right now we have to pick moments between now and Wednesday that's going to give us the best opportunity, and that's why we're running heats now, because it's clean. Hang on, I'll just watch Joel again.
Joel rips through that first turn, a smaller wave. Semi gives up on that last manoeuvre. And right behind him, Conor O'Leary driving off the bottom. A nice section here. He makes good use of it, but just gets lost there and trying to ride out of that move.
Yeah, as I was saying, with the forecast, we could wake up tomorrow morning and the swell could be, because the forecasters are saying the swell's not going to arrive until midday or so. So we could spend tomorrow morning on hold again. And that's why we're surfing today, because we've got to be able to put ourselves in a position to find waves that don't have the onshore but have enough swell to surf. And the flip side of it is, granted, this is small, especially for pipe, but we've got some good surfing, and there's more opportunity today than what there is when it's 6 to 8 foot and howling onshore and closing out, because then everyone's just taking off and getting crunched on the reef, and a random wave may hold open, whereas today it's into straight up surfing rather than just full barrels, and it's a competition, and it takes a title to win a world title, like a whole gamut of surfing, and today we've got a whole gamut of surfing going on because of the way the waves are. And having said that, though, it's a lovely day and there's some nice waves out there. It's just not 6 to 8 foot pipe, but with our forecast, we're sort of seeing how it goes, and we'll see how far we get today. If the wind goes onshore, and, you know, who knows, KP may pull the pin on it, but for now we've got some good scores dropping and a great contest. Like, it's a good day.
All right, Rich, we'll let you get back to work. Thanks for your time. As we see Leo taking off now, driving down the line. Nice speed float there to set up this next section, and he throws that tail. That's desperation right there, hanging on to that move.
He knows how important this heat is. You get a spot into round 3, that takes a lot of stress off your back going into round 2. Considering, I mean, I think what Rich was saying when you work backwards, meaning is that you look at the forecast and you kind of look at what is the best opportunity to finish in quality surf, and then you work back from there. I mean, you look at Wednesday and Tuesday, that was a nice turn there. I mean, that nice finish from Leo, and I think this is going to be, well, this will be his best wave by far, and probably will move in the lead. But looking at the forecast, like going, hey, which day is going to have the best opportunity to finish in high-quality surf? As we watch the drift there, and this is the innovation of progression that we are going to see today. And if we get into round 2, which again is on standby, you're gonna have to see that. So quick wave for the Joel Parkinson. Probably not going to fit into his top 2, at least at the end of the heat. Late hit, but that was wave number 1. That was the 3s that he received earlier.
He's out in front though, Leonardo, 3.1 and a 4.67. Joel Parkinson not needing much to get into the lead, a 1.94. Conor O'Leary, something a little more, a 6.84. Joel having a look at this one. Conor uses his priority though. Just a set-up turn to get to this final section. Does well to whip his board up vertically, throw a bit of water.
I think that's one of the advantages that Conor has at his backhand. It, separates himself from the other backhanders, is that how quickly he moves in and out of his maneuvers. It's just lightning fast.
19.5 minutes to go here. Let's check in with the winner of the first heat from heat number 10, round 1. It's Adrian Buchan with Kaipo.
Thank you, Ron. Ace, talk to me a little bit about adaptability, because coming into this first heat, this is far from, the pipeline that you would imagine surfing.
Yeah, kind of gone through the full range of preparation the last week, a few days I was walking down here with 7.0s, and today I was pulling out shortboards that I haven't surfed for the last month. So yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like Seabass was surfing gums, I was surfing backdoor, and Ian was surfing off the wall. So I've never really had a heat out here like that. 1 year when Bede won, we were surfing backdoor and off the wall, but it's completely different to what you usually think of. But that's the tour, you got to be ready for anything.
What about the mental fortitude, having, sticking to your guns there at backdoor, hearing the first half of the heat, Seabass getting scores and having the lead through the first half of the heat, but then that 8-point ride really made the difference, but you stuck to your guns?
Yeah, I wasn't too worried. I kind of had a few opportunities at the start that just didn't pan out. And I just knew that when a proper backdoor, proper set hit backdoor, it was going to have a little bit more impact. The waves at Gums look fun for a free surf, but I think, when the waves come through backdoor and that rip settles down, they've just got a little bit more power and critical section. So that's what I was waiting for, and would have liked to have had another one at the end so I didn't have to kind of sit and keep swiveling my neck either way to watch the other guys, but stoked to get the win.
Congratulations. We'll see you in round 3. Ron?
Cheers, Kaipo. Adrian Buchan, and I think there's some takeaways there for the other surfers that might have to hit this lineup, whether it's in these, obviously the last heat of the first round, or even those round 2 heats, because it did look like Ace had a steeper, taller section to dig into at backdoor, and it just looked like Gums, the wave was a little cupped out and kind of difficult to really lay into.
Yeah, and we've got 2 different swells running too. So there's the northeast, which again will focus on that Gums section. There is some northwest still, which will actually focus on the backdoor. And it's that big swell that we had. Now it's kind of tapered off in a big way, but there is that direction, which again will focus on the backdoor section. So, there may be not as many opportunities, but if you get some clean water and one of those set waves were to come in at the right time, that's where your best opportunity will be.
17 minutes to go, and the 2012 Pipe Masters champion Joel Parkinson is out in front.
Welcome back to the Billabong Park Pro. We are watching round 1 action. Just to note that Stewie Kennedy has officially withdrawn from competition. We know that he sustained an injury at Sunset Beach a couple of weeks ago. We wish him a speedy recovery and to enjoy the downtime with his family. But also note that in round 2, Heat 4, Maddie Wilkinson will get a walkthrough, boys.
Thank you, Rosie, for the update. Stu Kennedy out of the contest, went for a huge move on the Sunset Bowl and tweaked his knee, and he's going to spend some time out of the water. We saw him out there in the first round. Looked like he was really suffering some pain. He tried to fight on, but just couldn't manage that injury, and he's opted to pull out. So Matt Wilkinson will get that walkthrough to round 3.
Well, a lot of things are going to be going on for Stu Kennedy. So nice little quick barrel for Joel Parkinson. So he's going to add to that 5.83. Maybe not much, though. Quick in and out. Be interesting to see what the judges score those smaller barrels. And also getting away was Leo Fioravanti, but not able to complete the last move. And Conor going for some progression here. We saw him do one of those yesterday at a free surf down the way and stomped it. So he's got that, again, he's so quick in his rotation. Out of the lip as well as in the air. He spins one of the quickest spins I've seen.
Joel Parkinson chasing a second Pipe Masters victory here in 2017. Pete, he really has been one of the best performers on the North Shore we've ever seen.
Absolutely, you know, and again, if you look at all the venues that we have, Haleiwa, Sunset Beach, and Pipeline, obviously, he is one of the best at all of those venues. Very, you know, that's why he's got a Triple Crown title.
3 of them.
And you know, you look at Pipeline that year that he was able to get his Pipe Masters. I mean, that was one of the biggest years of his life, you know, as winning a world title and a Pipe Masters in the same season.
And he hadn't won an event that season. He was super consistent. And he was in a great world title showdown with Kelly Slater. Kelly got to the semi-finals, got beaten by Josh, and as a result, Joel became world champ. But much like Adriano de Souza in 2015, he went on to get the job done and finish the event with a victory as well. So just a magic finish for Joel that year, 2012. Well, just over 13 minutes to go, and positioning, it's really been a key component for success out here this morning. Strider, what are our competitors doing out there at the moment?
Yeah, interesting to watch these guys start off this heat. So Joel and Conor deciding to go out there at Gums on the sandbar, even though Ace Buchan took the win at Backdoor. It looks like Joel made the adjustment, though. He's back over here at Backdoor now. He's moved down, trying to identify a couple of those waves through the riptide. But it's, you know, watching these heats from the beach, it's really hard to pick a place as this lineup is really torn apart by these big backdoor sections. Uh-oh.
Oh, yes. That's always a highlight moment for us.
We love what? We love watching Strider get pounded.
That's good.
It is entertaining.
But yeah, 12 and a half minutes to go, and Barton, it's just crucial that positioning at the moment, because even though there is little waves breaking everywhere, it just seems like, you know, some of these sections have more opportunity to let go of bigger turns than others.
And I definitely think it's the backdoor section. That part of the reef seems to be standing up more. The face is bigger. There's more punch in it. When you do your turns, they're more critical in that section. You head further towards off the wall and you're surfing away from the judges. It doesn't have that same impact, and we saw that with Ian Gouveia in that first heat. Out in front, I don't rate Gums at all. I would not be sitting there in any way. And here goes Joel Parkinson on a little backdoor one that looks like it's got a nice wall on it.
Let's see what he can do. Drives up into this first section. Probably didn't connect the way he would have liked, but tried to make up for it on the second move. He's out in front trying to get rid of a 3.33.
Yeah, it'll be right around that range, I would assume.
Conor gets a shot. No big numbers locked in just yet. There's a solid turn. But just the one move for Conor.
Well, we have at least that wave from Adrian Buchan to kind of start looking at where excellent looks like, you know, and it was definitely a bigger set wave, 2 big sections, and that was, you know, then you go excellent.
Here goes Leo. Just a speed turn, really, to keep on pace with this wave down the line. It does well to jam that end section, but you can see his back foot just lost the tail pad there, and he went down. So an incomplete ride. He was chasing a 4.5. Not sure he'll get there.
Yeah, well, if he had pulled the last move off, it would have probably been a lot easier for the judges to give it the 4 or 5 needed to take top position. Take a look first at Joel Parkinson. Again, you can see the rip pulls right through that section there, and that's what you see, those double ups, those little extra waves pulling up from the bottom. That's the shallow water and the sand that's been piled up on the reef. Also that quick turn from Conor O'Leary, but just the one. And I like this wave here. Again, there you see the way the wave pulls up from the bottom. It's so shallow, it doubles up. And you know, this one would have definitely helped him out if he had just pulled this last move off. You see the replay again, just that quick turn. See, he cuts it short. He stops the turn full on to keep the momentum down the line. And if he had really laid into that maneuver, it pretty much would have only been the one maneuver. And so he's looking for the opportunity down the line. He makes sure that turn. And what happens here, but that bend of the knee, and then that's when the back foot, you see it just slipped off. He lifted his weight to try and pull the weight back to the front foot. Back foot slips off and goes down.
Are you surprised to see Leo sitting where he is on the ratings, back in 26th position, coming into this final event? Yes, I am. You know, because of the success he had as a wild card. You know, in 2 events that he was in the previous year, he had gotten into events, Margaret River, and you know, he had easily made through a bunch of heats, and he was sitting as a wild card. He was beating big numbers, I mean, guys in the top seeds. So you thought that he was going to be fairly comfortable. So it's I think the adjustment of, you know, mentally getting on tour and staying on tour, it is a challenge. Well, Mick Fanning, the 3-time world champion who's surfed in plenty of showdowns here at the final event of the season. Could be surfing his last Pipe Masters, we don't know. He hasn't made an announcement about what his plans are for next season just yet. But he is heading out. You know, he's focused on taking this contest out. It's one of only a couple of events he hasn't won on the schedule. He's been so successful all around the world, but a victory here at Pipe would mean a lot. Here goes Joel Parkinson. A couple of solid hits, finding some flow on this wave. And drifts the tail on this final move. So Joel trying to get rid of a 4.3.
Well, his last wave did go into his top 2. And it kind of feels like this one will as well. See what the judges think, but not a big number, but you're right. I mean, I like this first turn too, just that slice through the wall. Good variety on the forehand too, all 3 different moves, getting a little release out of that final move. So it feels like, and look at this, I mean, this is the Joel Parkinson slice. I mean, look at that, just graceful carve through. That is a steep section that he drives through it.
Conor up now and trying to answer to Joel's last ride. Super explosive on those final turns. Conor, he just has to get that big move done on the outside, and he's going to turn in some pretty decent numbers with 7.5 minutes to go. Leo's got another opportunity here. He's going to go over.
Just in regards to Leo, though, I feel like, you know, hey, he is one of the most determined and competitors that I've ever seen, you know, and it won't be long. I mean, I think in 1 year's time, he'll be back in that top 10 if he doesn't qualify this year. Easily back into the championship tour. He's just too good not to. I mean, and I would say you can't count him out for even this event. As you watch the quickness once again from Conor O'Leary. And I think Leo understanding how important it is to get that big first turn, lays it all on the line of that first section, but goes down.
You can see the challenges out here at times. The competitors, they've got a lot of speed. They're drawing off the bottom, but before you know it, that wave just cups out, and it's so hard to fit your board into the transition, and it is a big equipment change that these guys are having to make, Barton.
Yes, and I suppose when you've been in Hawaii for a month or so, your legs are stronger because you've been riding that big equipment. You're used to the bigger boards. And then when the swell drops and you figure it's smaller and it's sort of playful beach break type conditions, you come down to your shortboard, and I think we've seen this morning people starting to lose control in turns. We saw Seabass drift the rail and come unstuck a few times on the last turn. We've seen Leonardo do it in this heat as well, where the board does things that you're not used to. And in Parko's last one, you could see him kind of holding back and not jamming and driving the rail and surfing a little more conservatively because the board feels really loose to them under their feet after being on bigger equipment all the time. So that's one of the things you got to watch out for when you come down, is that unpredictable nature in the shorter boards.
Definitely. I think we saw that in the first heat of the day too, Pete. Sebastian Zeke's, his board looked alive, but at times it skipped out.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, again, it's the energy in the ocean too. I mean, pound for pound, Hawaii is stronger. The energy, there's no continental shelf, so literally you're getting the full energy of each and every swell as it hits the coastline, so it's going to have a little bit extra speed. Even though the size isn't necessarily there, the power is. And so your shortboards are going to feel a lot looser under your feet.
Well, just over 5 minutes, let's dive into the recap while we have a chance here. Joel Parkinson getting things started with a nice little barrel on the inside.
Well, and Joel's been able to separate himself with 2 of the best rides of the heat. You know, he got barreled, but he's also been able to find maneuvers to get the scores as well. I mean, his last wave ended up coming in at a 5.30.
He's looked a little more patient too on the open face, hasn't he? He's not as erratic as the other competitors. Doesn't look as desperate.
And I think that it's a lot of the experience that he carries and the fact that he can, adjust to his surfboards and understand what's happening and not push too hard and keep the flow going, and he's done that. Whereas you look at Conor and Leo, they're a bit more desperate in this heat too, so they're really pushing their maneuvers. We haven't had the same flow.
And we haven't really touched on it, but Conor is locked in an all-time Rookie of the Year battle with a couple of great surfers who could do very well here at Pipe, in Juan Daru and Frederico Moraes.
Yeah, well, Frederico's will be coming up next, and Juan Daru already in round 2. So, again, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's always going to be a fun one to watch. But Joel, just a ton of experience and being able to have the ability to stay motivated in conditions that aren't, pipeline, and understanding that and making the adjustment and winning a heat, probably.
I think one of the real keys to Joel's success here on the North Shore is his ability to just sum up what each wave is throwing at him and really choose the perfect maneuver for each section. He hasn't forced any turns out there. I think Leonardo's probably thrown a bit more wrist, as is Conor, but Joel's the one who's got the completion on his moves at the moment.
Well, there we go. That's a nice maneuver there. If he can get another one, this is going to be the best wave for Conor O'Leary, as that was a beautiful release out of the lip on that first section.
And I guess that's the danger for Joel, is he has had more maneuvers on his rides, but held a little bit back in order to get the completion, and as a result has only gone into the mid-range 5s. So the door is open for this heat to be stolen in the final stages here.
Looks like the thief is going to have it.
Yeah, there it is, a 717. So you're right, Conor O'Leary getting a lot of credit for just that extra bit of commitment to that first turn.
I'd love to see that turn again. I mean, that was, he laid it on the line. It was one of the rare lefts, and as a goofy footer, he was able to execute, and what really paid off for him was the next section again, where he was able to fit another maneuver in. But this was committed. Look at the release he gets out of it. Holds on, compresses through the maneuver too, and keeps the board under his feet. Nice work for Conor O'Leary, and just one of those guys, really cool to be around. I'm sure he carries an ego, but doesn't feel like he is. When you talk to him on the beach, he's very really nice demeanor to him.
He's cool, and obviously loving the opportunity to compete here in the Billabong Pipe Masters. He's got his fiancée recently engaged, Stephanie Single, over here. Her family's here to watch him compete in the Pipe Masters. A huge moment for a surfer surfing in their rookie season, this event in particular.
Well, he worked hard to get here too. I mean, he came up shy in his first real true qualification year, finishing 15th here on the North Shore. He'd been here and had that feeling, but then came back and won the QS and qualified, and now gets onto the championship tour, and even in the first event was able to put up a good result. And what it's been able to do is made him fairly comfortable throughout the season.
Well, just over a minute and a half remaining. Joel Parkinson tucking in, finding some cover. He'll push through. And what can he do on the end to complete this wave? Nice little laid-back slide. And Joel, he only needs a 6.22 to get in front. Is that going to be the wave for him?
Well, we'll take a look at the review. First, my gut instinct says that it's going to come up a little bit short, probably right in that same 5-point range. I mean, we saw him get, a little bit better barrel in the beginning of the heat. Although this one, he gets some maneuvers. Again, sets it up beautifully, so comfortable in the little sandbar conditions. He reads those so well. I mean, that looked like a little bit of snapper rocks right there. But I just don't think there was enough criticalness in that final maneuver to really turn the number into the 6.22 he needed. But look at that setup. I mean, that's all of, when you can have a read like that, that's his experience. You know, it's just too bad that that wave didn't actually really bowl out a little bit more for the exit, because he didn't have that clean exit.
I think we've had those mediocre days too in the event in years gone by where there's not that big barrel on offer, but the tubes will still score pretty well. And today it just feels like the judges have made a decision to really reward the manoeuvres. And as a result, Conor O'Leary's found himself out in front here with that super explosive finner on that left.
I mean, anytime you have a bit of wow, you know, an unexpectedness to a maneuver, or to even to a barrel too. I mean, that's the thing. If you can get the judges to psych, and even, you know, for example, us watching, you know, that was, you know, you don't see it coming, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, that was pretty darn cool. So then it's going to get rewarded.
So the second heat of the day has come to an end with Conor O'Leary out in front. He'll make the jump through to round 3. We're back with the last heat of round 1 in just a moment with Joe Tappell and Martin Potter stepping in for the call.
This is the Billabong Pipe Masters in loving memory of Andy Irons. Andy Irons, a 4-time Pipe Master, a 3-time world champ, as we've been crowning world champions for over 40 years. I'm Joe Tappell. I'm lucky enough to be sitting alongside 89 world champ, calling the action, Martin Potter. Potts, this one getting started quickly with Italo Ferreira.
Yeah, I'm sure all these guys are pretty excited to get the ball rolling, Joe. We've had a number of lay days, some crazy weather to deal with, but some beautiful sunshine, some fun waves here this morning, and the boys are getting busy. Obviously a different criteria this morning as opposed to the big barreling pipeline and backdoor. It is maneuver based here this morning, and we've seen some great stuff already. Frederico Moraes lighting it up, that consistent off the top combo that he's been using. Mick Fanning off to a quick start as well. All these surfers getting the ball rolling. It's going to be plenty of waves ridden, a lot of action for all the people on the beach, and Mick Fanning looking sharp here this morning.
That's right, Fanning fired up. Speaking of world champs, a 3-time world champ. Mick Fanning won his last world title a few years back now, back in 2013. But in 2014 and 15, he finished runner-up in the world. Following that season, he took some time off, but we knew he was going to be back this year for a full start on the championship tour. Already threw a couple of points on the back end is Italo Ferreira. First score starting to drift in as well. Frederico Moraes 4.67. Mick Fanning 5.27 on the opening exchange.
Yeah, obviously the best out of those exchanges there, but Italo Ferreira making sure he gets a couple of quick waves. His first one in around about that 3-point range, and another small backup for him. He's been out here every day though, Joe. We've been sort of watching him surfing down and off the wall, off the lefts, and kind of always in the water, you know, which is a good thing.
And especially surfing conditions like this, the danger man looks like Italo Ferreira. He loves when it's switched up. He loves to adapt to the changing conditions here at Pipe and Backdoor. Frederico Moraes leading the Rookie of the Year race, heading into the final stop of the season. And he wants to match that accomplishment that both Italo and Fanning accomplished way back in the day. This is the last heat of the opening round of competition. And for Fanning, Potts is probably feeling pretty good that he's not feeling world title pressure. I heard yesterday he was just saying it's kind of a relief. I can just enjoy this event, but he's never won this event, so he still has something that he's really gunning for this year.
Well, there might be that pressure release of not having that world title pressure, that he could go on and win this thing. I mean, it's going to be tricky conditions. It's not going to be that traditional pipeline. So who knows? Mick Fanning could walk away with the title here.
Having a look now, Frederico Moraes. Speed jam off the roof. Two-turn combination. Nice, brilliant form. Rarely falls in mid transitions. And leads that Rookie of the Year charge, courtesy of a huge result back at the J-Bay Open in perfect conditions. Rolling in now, Mick Fanning looking. Big snap, just good for one move, and he's out of there. Mick also mentioning the other day, he doesn't know how many more times he'll be in this Pipe Masters event. Something that he's always had as a goal in mind when he qualified for the tour. And a place where he found quick success. You go back to 2002, he had some really cool heats to remember, but also made that final, that first strike, which was exciting for a young rookie to accomplish so much so quickly here.
Yeah, well, Mick's had a lot of success in a lot of events first out as well. I mean, he's just one of those guys that was comfortable with competing. Let's have a look at Moraes' wave. I love that speed jam from Frederico Moraes. Just so solid on those finishing turns. And then Mick trying to back up his wave. A bit of a head dip there, and a 2.77 for Mick. Still with the single highest score of a 5.27. So not a lot of big scores, but those mid-ranges are very important.
So Fanning still in the second spot, Frederico out front, Italo Ferreira sitting in the third spot at the moment. We talked about that first final for Fanning, who comes into this event 12th in the world. I can only think of one other season where Mick didn't finish inside the top 10, and majority of his full years on tour were inside the top 5 as well. You could easily call him the most reliable of those world champions that have been on tour for a long time now.
Yeah. We always talk about if you had to bet your house on a surfer, it would be Mick Fanning, as you said, the most reliable when it comes to those pressure situations.
Well, last heat was won by one of the rookies on tour. Conor O'Leary is now downstairs with Rosie Hodge.
That's right, a lot of time to contemplate your first heat of the Pipe Masters. Conor O'Leary, you mentioned just how tricky the conditions are, but a first-hand account of what it's like out there. Yeah,
it's really tricky out there. I mean, I guess I wouldn't have thought that I'd be surfing gums in my very first Pipe Masters, but a win's a win and I'll take it. And yeah, my game plan was just kind of just to stay away from backdoor because it was so tricky, and you didn't really know which waves were good and which waves were bad. So I thought I'd just have a heat at gums and surf by myself and hopefully get a couple.
You've had an outstanding rookie season. You're in the race for the Rookie of the Year. Is that factoring in for you at all?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, at the very start of the year, I was just kind of like, I just want to re-qualify through the CT, and that'd be cool. And then I guess it all falls together, and then you kind of make goals as the year progresses. And yeah, I guess a Rookie of the Year would be a really good icing on the cake for the end of the year.
Great, Conor. We can't wait to see you in round 3. Well done. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Rosie. Conor O'Leary, what a standout he was, especially out of the gates on the Gold Coast, the season opener. Got himself a quarterfinal result, and we got to really get to know this kid around the world. Kind of talked about how his profile was a bit under the radar. He kind of liked it that way. But whenever you win the qualifying series, the whole idea of being under the radar is long gone. As we watch Fanning go to a little inside corner left, falling on his finish. Looking for just a small score, a 3.83 to take the lead.
Yeah, not much required there for Mick Fanning.
Next one setting up for Italo. Nice clean jam off the top. Ends up blowing the board out. Lays back, recovers, but ends up behind the section. Those are the type of moves that just leave you scratching your head how he gets himself in a position to maybe pull off a miracle. He came close on that one, Potts.
Yeah, he did, Joe. It's all about that core strength, flexibility. You know, you've got your knees have got to be good, your back, you've got to have a strong core. Mick Fanning not quite finishing that last turn off there. A little bit too late to the party, as they say, but Italo Ferreira looking sharp, looking quick as well, and I love that. Just a real sneaky blowtail. Got a little bit of drift, a little bit of distance through the air, but just didn't quite ride out of it. Nice opening maneuver just to set it up. Foot right back on the pad. Sweet spot. You see the fins popping out, and right there, that front foot was the key factor. I think that front foot coming off, putting a little bit of pressure on that inside rail, and that was the reason for not making that. So just pushing a bit too hard, but I like it. This is what you got to do out here today. The judges are looking for those maneuvers. They're looking for high performance. Completely different judging criteria if it was proper pipe, Joe.
That's right, which makes an interesting topic, because over the years we've had a lot of history out here at the Pipe Masters since 1971. We've had quite a few heats like this. Fanning's up. First jam, solid, but he grabs the rail, so he's down. Incomplete on the effort. Italo heading that direction. Just pushing down the beach, tackling the end section. Finds himself another finish. Ferreira's last 3:17 keeps him in third. So he's trying to build on his scoreline. Nothing happening for Fanning. Heat leader. Frederico Moraes just up and out. And Rosie brought up a topic with Conor O'Leary that it's an exciting finish for the Rookie of the Year. Just like last season, Potts, when we had the heat with Connor Coffin, if he would have gotten the score against Kelly, he would have won that title over Caio Ibelli. So when he didn't get the score, Caio officially became the Rookie of the Year, and Caio was so worthy of that award with a couple of big heat wins to start off the year over John Florence. As we look at Italo's wave.
Yeah, Italo's wave, well, 3.73. I didn't think that was going to go into his top two. Nice, clean, vertical backside maneuver, but the one before kind of lost his fins a bit. A little scrappy, but, you know, these guys haven't been riding their small boards, Joe. They've been working on their bigger equipment to sort of get used to that for pipeline, for backdoor, and then having to hit the reset button. We heard Ace Bucken talk this morning about he rode a board this morning. He hadn't surfed in over a month, so just getting the ball rolling. We're going to see a few mistakes here and there.
Just being ready for everything is the big secret to being ready for pipe and backdoor, because it could be small like this. Rippable section for Fanning. Knifes it vertically, two solid maneuvers. And now sneaking out of there. Next one setting up for Frederico Moraes from Portugal. Big frontside hook. He's become famous for that big move. And another combo to keep that steady approach out front, trying to improve on a 4.43. Fanning is ditched a 2.77 on the improvement.
Yeah, I think we might see a seesaw battle. I mean, Mick just looking for a 3.83. Nice little snap for Mick. And again, I think the difference between Frederico's wave and Mick's wave was a lot quicker. So couldn't really afford to do this kind of turn here, where you can see Frederico gets the board all the way back around. That wave slowed up nicely for him. Mick's was a little bit faster down the line, so he had to cut his turns shorter than Frederico's. But this bottom turn, top turn combo that we've seen all year long, it's taken into some big success through the year, and has got him in that Rookie of the Year race. So Frederico Moraes looking dangerous yet again here at Pipeline. Waiting for that score to drop. It's going to probably be his best score. Some big turns on that wave.
All year long, Potts, we asked all the rookies what it would mean to them to be in the Rookie of the Year race at the end of the year, and to maybe clinch for Frederico Moraes coming into this event 13th in the world. Conor O'Leary 14th in the world, and we saw Conor win that last heat. And so now the torch passed to Moraes. Can he answer to match that result? Now it's 16:45. We see last of Mick Fanning of 5.53. He takes the lead. Moraes improves a 4.6, but stays in second, with Fanning getting the score on that big two-turn combo. Strider, what's interesting about the positioning in this matchup?
Well, you know, we've had one go down at backdoor with Ace, and then we had one go down over here at Gums in that last heat with Conor. Now Mick Fanning getting on fire over here on the Gums side, but now he's back over it off the wall. So the playing field is just so broken up and just so wide open. You actually have so many options out here. So Mick, after that last wave, he's down there in the rip at backdoor off the wall trying to find himself something. It's just such an interesting scenario. And from the beach, I mean, what's the go from the beach, Barton? Because you said that Gums wasn't the go, but now these guys were actually winning heats there.
All three of them, and Conor O'Leary won it on a left as Frederico Moraes is up on a left. Beautiful backhand re-entry here, and another snap as it goes to Whitewater on the inside. He'll look for one last finishing turn, and there it is. Yeah, it's an interesting question when you're in your heat as to where to sit. I suppose, as we've seen people win heats, we've seen the surfers in the next heat sort of adapt and adjust to that. I think in the end you've just got to follow your gut feeling, listen to yourself and go with your feel, because there are good waves on each bank. And who would have thought that Conor would have won on a left at Gums, because the majority of waves have been rights there. So it truly is a bit of a lottery out there today.
So interesting just picking where to sit on a day like today, BL. And you think about the year that you went all the way back in '88. Did you have to surf quite a few heats at Gums that season?
Well, you know, in fact, we actually surfed the very first round of that event at Beach Park, so further down more towards Pupukea on a right-hand bank at Beach Park, because we'd had similar conditions to what we've had this week here. But then on the final day, turned into sort of 8 to 12 foot pipeline in that beautiful west direction, washed all the sand out really quickly, and there was game on.
Well, thinking about this switch in this scenario, not being classic backdoor and pipe, Barton, who ends up being the favorite in this heat?
Well, again, I think Mick Fanning's just got that maturity and that experience and that confidence in himself to be able to trust himself, make the right moves. And when he's on the wave face, he has looked electric, super sharp, super fast. So at this point in time, I'd say advantage Mick Fanning. But again, he's got two young guys who are just flaring. So it could go either way with time on the clock.
Man, your way.
Martin Lynch with the insight, sitting up in the tower. As you see the fans there on the beach with a lot of world champ support. When you're world champ, you become pretty popular. He had the Mick Fanning jersey, the John hat on. As we look at a front side punt attempt for Parra with now 14 minutes on the clock. Mick Fanning still leads this heat with a couple of 5 Rangers. Moraes knows the Rookie of the Year honor is on the line, and Italo still chasing a 7.07. We'll return to round 1 action here at the Billabong Pipe Masters right after this. You're watching the Billabong Pipe Masters in loving memory of Andy Irons. We still have 12 minutes on the clock here in round 1, heat number 12. Been waiting to run these heats for quite some time now, dealing with some aggressive wind conditions, some massive swell as well. And this lineup was churned up and ripped apart, and there wasn't a whole lot of scoring potential. And now waiting, we got some sunshine, but a totally different format with really scoring maneuvers heavily on today's action. Joe Chappelle alongside former world champ Martin Potter. Potts, you've seen a lot of surfing out here at the Pipe Master, including some finals that came down to conditions like this in the past.
Yeah, exactly right. You know, you've got to take what you're given. Wow, Italo Ferreira, how about the critical nature of that turn? Just kind of created that. I mean, that maneuver was not allowed to be done there, but he just managed to pull it off. He got the rotation, missed the grab. So lucky for him, he landed with those fins first.
Up
Here he
again,
goes again.
Parra, big backside rotation, answering to the full rote on the forehand. And this was kind of that danger wild card factor of running these conditions. We're talking about favorites, and it's hard to go past the three-time world champion Fanning, looking sharp, but all of a sudden, the roll goes for Ferrer. He doesn't like to sit still, and he'll go for about 20 of these in a heat.
Yeah, and he'll probably make about 19 out of them. So, I mean, look at the pop he gets. Once his confidence is up, which he really got on that first one, the 7.33, the floodgates open for Italo Ferreira. You can see landing, just losing his balance a little bit, and an incomplete maneuver. Unfortunate there for Italo Ferreira. There could have been another great score, but, I mean, yeah, of course, Mick Fanning, you'd definitely put your money on him coming into this event if it was proper pipeline, if it was big, screaming backdoor. But when it's like this, the tables are turned.
Italo Ferreira earns a 7.33 on the front side full rotation, incomplete on the backhand, but he just took the lead off Fanning. Frederico down to third with 10:25 to go. This is the last heat of the opening round of competition, so let's get an update from our commissioner, Kieran Perose with Kaipo.
Thank you, Joe. Kieran, big question. Are we going to go into round number 2 today?
We're not. That was a really challenging call, actually. We've got contestable surf out there. What's happened, though, is that those sets that we saw this morning, you know, through the first few hours, certainly tapered off, even from heat 1. You know, we saw a lot more opportunity, I think, over at backdoor. A little bit more power over there too, so everyone's moved over to gums, and slowly the swell is going to diminish through the day today. So, you know, whilst we have waves on offer and we've got a challenging forecast, we're confident we're going to get better waves out of the next 2 to 3 days. We need to rely on the winds cooperating with us, and that's the challenge. We've got light winds right now, so sure, we could push on, but it's a really important round 2. There's a lot on the line, and we want to maximise giving everyone the best chance. You know, whilst we've got some good surf showing, we just have to hope the forecast cooperates from here on out.
Speaking of the forecast, what's our chances to get going tomorrow?
Really strong chance. I mean, tomorrow's shaping up to be pretty decent. What we're not sure of is when that swell's going to arrive. There's a new, more northwest direction swell. It's going to favour backdoor and pipe much more than what we've got right now. It's just the timing of that. You know, that could arrive in the morning. We could wake up and have surf first thing, or it might be more around midday. So that's the challenge. And then going into Monday, we're still going to have some decent waves in the head high plus, and light and variable winds.
There you go, guys.
Thank you, Kaipo. Join us for the WSL Post Show coming up next. A short day of action, but the Commissioner's Office always thinking for the best scenario, for the best surfers in the world, and especially with KP being a former pipe masters, he wants to put these guys in barreling conditions at backdoor and pipe, and tomorrow is looking very promising, Potts.
That it is, Joe. And to kick off round number 2, first thing tomorrow morning, Gabriel Medina and Dusty Payne. So that's kind of why Kieran decided to call it off today. World title ramifications straight off the bat. So, you know, wanting to give these guys, you know, a good shot at it. Be a shame for a world title guy to go down in average conditions after all that hard work through the year.
Gabriel Medina, world number 2, takes on the wild card Dusty Payne after a big win at the Pipe Invitational. Big full road attempt from Frederico Moraes as he's down. It looked like Frederico had a steady game plan using that little power hook into the fours. Fanning got the lead, but now the air work from Ferreira is looking flashy, looking relevant. A 7.33, and he's still out in front. Waz, what are you liking out of Italo out there?
Well, I love the fact that, well, he's using some local knowledge, so to speak, kind of like Parra de Tijuca out here from Brazil. So it's like these conditions, really punchy nuggets, little on the beach break, really lending to that style of surfing that he loves. So it could be the X factor in this event. As you know, we're going for a big finish here for a world title. Gabriel Medina does love those Brazilian-style beach breaks, but I have to remember John Florence won over there at Parra de Tijuca as well.
That's right, Strider. We haven't had enough chances to talk about this world title showdown, even with the lay days. It's been that intense here on the beach, just thinking about scenarios, focusing first on the top 2 in the world from John, also to Gabriel Medina, and then you have the outside shot with Jordy Smith and Julian Wilson, which makes it even more exciting, especially when you focus on round 2, because Julian Wilson is in that third heat tomorrow morning against the wild card Benji Brand.
Yeah, you know, and you kind of got to flip the coin on whether these kind of conditions are going to play into the hands of the world title guys or the hands of the upset guys. So Italo up and riding.
Italo, second move. Nice and sweet off the lip.
You know what, Joe, if it's 8 to 10 foot pipeline, you know, you kind of look at a handful of guys. But when it's like this, strange things happen. You know, it's definitely a lot of luck involved. Got to be in the right place at the right time and get those nice little waves. But Italo Ferreira has done exactly that, 7.33 and a 4.9. Just that one good wave is the difference, and that's that luck factor. Just being in that place to get that wave. You know, obviously all the hard work comes into play, yes, but you do need a little luck go your way.
Italo Ferreira injured himself at the start of the year after an explosive start on the Gold Coast. Then he had to miss 3 consecutive events. I think he did a big air at D-Bob just down the way from Snapper Rocks. And it was a tough one because he started off solid, but he came back in a position to really work on his seeding for 2018. He ended up re-qualifying anyway on the qualifying series, seeing himself heal properly, and now he's got a good shot at maybe double qualifying if he makes a couple of heats here at the Pipe
Yeah,
Masters.
and that's going to help someone else out too, isn't he? So let's see how that unfolds.
Federico driving hard into the first section for that reverse. Setting up that rail again. And lays back, looks at that finish. So just changing up that rhythm, throw more variety to start. And Italo is just so scary when he stands up. He's just looking like he's going to do an air on every wave, Potts.
You know what? Smart move there from Federico Moraes. You know, turns, obviously, where his power is. It's where he gets those big points, but not working for him this morning. So opting for that air game, which we don't see a lot of from Federico. He does have it, but doesn't use it, doesn't pull it out as much as, say, a Italo Ferreira guy does. But listening to those scores coming through for the air game. So Federico mixing it up and trying some of that.
4:43 on the clock. Remember, non-elimination round. We were talking about Fanning's first showing in the final back in 2002. He ended up having an interesting round 1 heat where he had a 6-point total to win in challenging conditions. Even Phil McDonald was in that heat, and Shane Powell had a .2 combined total. Throwing the rotator off the lip is Italo Ferreira. Loving this free surf approach. Judges loving it as well as he's looking to replace a 5.57.
So dangerous, Joe. And I'll tell you what, if conditions stay like this, who knows? Italo could go all the way and be crowned a pipe master by the end of these next few days. Straight into it. And that's the forte this guy has. I mean, the ability to just that first bottom turn, doesn't need a lot of speed. He's got a lot of spring in his step and gets that board up and up above the lips so easily, which makes him so dangerous.
Down to 3:50 on the clock, and sometimes you really need to slow things down to see what the world's best are doing in competing here at the Billabong Pipe Masters. We'll slow this one down courtesy of the Worm app. You can see all the best surf content in super slow-mo on Worm. What do you think, Potts?
Oh, look at the body. You know, just the way he got himself in that position. He missed the grab, so this one became very critical. It became a Hail Mary, but you know what he's good at? He's good at landing backwards and coming out. He's got that really strong neutral stance, almost a snowboarding style stance where you can tell these guys can land backwards or front side. Same with Italo Ferreira. He can land backwards and spin that thing around and maintain his balance. That's what makes him so good. That's what gives him that really high completion rate.
Great to see that. To see more of the best slow-mo clips from the event, check out the WSL page on the Worm app or iTunes or Google Play. We see Fanning doing a big throwaway there, losing priority on the decision.
Yeah, Mick just going for it. Obviously knows he needs a fairly good score. 7.37 to get himself up into that #1 spot. Turns aren't cutting it. A couple of 5s in his scoreline. Sort of opting for that air game like Federico Moraes did. But you got to complete them.
Mick Fanning letting us know that, well, not letting us know too much, but he said he's thinking about how many events he might compete in Pipe Masters in the future. He said he's not quite sure just yet. But that's a huge statement, just that thought is entering his mind. We knew that last season he came back to Jeffreys Bay to, in his words, right the wrongs from that scary situation the year before. Won that event with ease, just with that methodical approach, amazing power game. He's won every event on the calendar except for this Pipe Masters trophy. 2 finals in the past. More recently, he's made some crucial semifinal efforts over the years, Potts. But what a story that would be if he could go all the way.
I'll tell you what, it's one that got away from me, Joe, and there's an empty space on my mantelpiece where that trophy should have gone. Oh. And I'm sure Mick's got that same spot ready. He's come close a few times, but, you know, with these conditions, I mean, it's anyone's game. So you've got to keep your head in the game, Obviously not doing so well in this heat, but it's a non-losers round, so he still gets another shot.
Remember, WSL Post Show coming up next. It's been a short but important day here at the Billabong Pipe Masters. We'll talk about the world title heats that will probably be out there. First thing tomorrow morning, we'll bring in former big wave champ Peter Mell. He's also a Surfline Premium account member, so he's going to break down what we could have tomorrow morning with that heat with Gabriel Medina and Dusty Payne. Into the final minute. In Heat 12, Italo, as soon as he threw down that big full rotation air, he's looked really comfortable to just jump right into round 3 putts.
Yeah, and you look at his, look how busy he's been as well, Joe. He's caught a lot of waves, and I think that's what you got to do in this situation. I don't think you know there's a benefit in sitting and waiting for the good waves, so to speak. I don't think there really is any. So you've just got to roll the dice, find those little ramps, find those little nuggets, and hope you get a good score.
Oftentimes, spots we'd see the warm-up sessions go down at a lot of the events around the world, and you just couldn't get past Italo as an event favorite to go all the way. Is he starting to look like that same athlete again on his recovery?
Absolutely. I think he's been looking like that for quite some time. I mean, you know, obviously with that injury has held him back a little bit, but back to 100%, you can tell by what he's going for. You know, there's no hesitation. We saw that in France, just boosting some massive airs.
Now making a move, 10 seconds on the clock. Marias, front side hack. Right in the pocket, little late hit on the inside corner. So Frederico's going to have to deal with round 2. More waves on the way, but this one just out of time. Italo Ferreira takes the big win. Can ride switch, he can ride backwards, he can do big full rotation airs, so definitely getting the roll going with that air game in conditions like this, and he won't have to deal with that sudden death second round. You know, all those QS guys that outside the top 10, from Michael Rodriguez to Pakadauskas to Michael February, are all backing Italo's run here at the Pipe Masters.
That they are, Joe, that they are. They want Italo to double qualify. It's opened up a spot for someone on tour next year, as did Kanoa Igarashi. And he's got the same opportunity again this year. He's already qualified through the QS. He could do the same again on the CT.
So many stories here at the Pipe Masters. It was a short day, already wrapping it up with the WSL Post Show coming up next. Aloha, welcome back to the North Shore of Oahu. This is the Billabong Pipe Masters in loving memory of Andy Irons. Andy Irons, a 4-time Pipe Master. He won back-to-back titles 2 times in his career, a 3-time world champ. We're happy to be here once again. Short day, already into a post show, alongside a couple of my best friends, Potts, Pete Mel. We love breaking down the action, and it really happened quickly today, and it was a goofy foot sweep, by the way. Probably not due to conditions, because it was kind of all over the shop. Pete, what'd you think?
Well, I think it had a little bit to do with conditions. I mean, he figured that these guys had to make it happen, and actually, you think about it, a couple of lefts ended up being kind of the telltale, you know, and gotta love what Italo did in that last heat.
I mean, if it was 10 to 12 foot, would we see the same results? Who knows?
Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Being ready for everything is kind of the thing you always emphasize, Potts, because like yourself, competing in this event for a number of years, sometimes it's going to be the scariest heat of your life, and sometimes it'll be like a rippable beach break.
Well, that's true. I mean, you've got to be ready for everything. You heard Ace Buchan talk about that he was warming up on 7-foot boards and ended up riding a short board that he hadn't surfed for about a month. So you've got to really be, you know, keep every board in your quiver ready to rock and roll.
So last heat was won by that big 7-3-3 for the full rotation punt. Italo Ferreira is back and looking solid. Italo's now with Rosie Hodge.
It's scary in any kind of condition. Italo already shoring up your place on the qualifying series with a big finish at sunset. Coming into this one with no pressure, is that freeing up your surfing?
Oh yeah, I just enjoyed myself. You know, I had a good moment here in Hawaii, and I got a good score, a good result in Haleiwa at sunset too, and now it's pipe. So I'm so happy to compete this event again, special. Sponsored by Billabong, you know, and I'm so happy to compete with Mick and all the guys, you know. It's always hard, you know, the guys push a lot, and I'm so happy. Yeah.
And also noticing you've been putting a lot of time in this lineup no matter what the conditions. How important is it when you get down to the beach, you have to surf in waves like this today when it's not your traditional pipe?
Yeah, for sure. The start of the comp, the trials, had a good waves and couple good barrels, and a couple field days. The waves kind of drop a little bit, and the wind kind of strong and flat again, and yeah, it's so hard, you know. It's always hard to compete, you know, because especially here in pipe, because the conditions like change a lot, and the water move so much fast and around, you know, the sand, and yeah, but I'm so happy to make through.
Impressive performance. We'll see you in round 3. Back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Rosie. Italo Ferreira back feeling 100% after that injury that sidelined him for a few events on the championship tour. So we see him coming into this event not in the top 10 like he was in his rookie season, competing at a lot of venues for the first time. A healthy Italo in 2018. Potts, what are your predictions there?
Top 10, I think definitely. You know, he's got that ability. He started off the year really well. If it wasn't for that injury, I think he would have been a top 10 guy here this year. So, you know, I think that's where he's at. I think he's, as Rosie said, he's scary in every kind of condition, not just these little waves. I mean, he proved that first year on tour, came out and took Kelly down in big cloud break. So he's got game in pretty much every sort of condition.
Well, speaking of the top 10, let's check out the current top 10 picture. Finishing round 1, we're all about elimination heats now. Big message for me here. Pete is just not seeing Fanning in this top 10 picture, losing Parko after a couple of bad results. But I know you just want to focus on that top 5 picture. Pretty incredible looking at those names.
It is, and we're coming down to that point where we're going to start to see who is going to be at the top of that Jeep leaderboard at the end of the season, who is going to be crowned a world champion. We were almost expecting to see those big heats from the first 3 heats of round 2, which included Gabriel Medina as well as Julian Wilson, but we have to wait till tomorrow.
You know the funny thing about that top 10, sorry, Joe, to cut you off, but you look at the names on it, I mean, you know, it's almost a changing of the guard. You're looking at Geordie being one of the oldest guys, Matty Wilco being one of the oldest guys in the top 10 now, so it's looking different, isn't it?
It's so true. Kind of seeing, you know, Kelly dealing with his injury, Mick Fanning not in the top 10, Parko outside of that conversation, Taj retiring. All of a sudden, you're getting a new look. The top 3, the same, though, from last season, with John Florence kind of leading this new guard, along with Gabriel Medina, which has kind of been the focus in the title talk. John versus Medina. First on John Pete. You've seen him a lot over the last 6 weeks on the North Shore. In round 1, it kind of felt like he finally checked that first accomplishment off the list.
Well, a heat win? I mean, you think that he would, in this lineup specifically, he's as comfortable as they come. You know, he's in a crowded lineup, and he knows how to find the jam. you know, and it's not like everyone's just gifting him waves. He literally just knows where they are and hunts them out and gets in position and gets the waves. And I feel that's going to be similar for him, whatever conditions get thrown at us.
Well, it's interesting, Potts, because I was thinking, okay, why hasn't John won a Pipe Master? The only thing I could put it to was pressure being on his home court of wanting it so bad. And the decision to leave Sunset, now with the world title on top of it. And are you seeing him kind of still feeling that heat at the moment?
No, I think, you know, I think the monkey's off his back, so to speak, with that world title already in his corner. He's in a different situation. He's a different guy this year. You know, and you always say when John paddles out, he raises the bar. I reckon John is the bar when it comes to pipeline. I mean, everything is measured against John Florence out here, and I think that's the way it's going to be, no matter what the conditions are like. I mean, he surfs this place, you know, a lot compared to everyone else. You know, it's what it's going to be like with the little sandbanks that run across the reef at pipeline, or it's big barreling pipeline itself. So no matter what it is, he's going to be the one to beat.
Mick Fanning, not in the race this year, is telling us he didn't like being that #1 guy coming to the final event. You're mentally exhausted. You feel like you're going to drop something at the final event of the season.
Well, I guess that could be, you know, and you got to learn how to deal with that. You know, best place to be doing that is probably at home, right? In the most comfortable place around your friends. I mean, he's been hanging with his crew. He's been surfing. I mean, he surfed Waimea the other day, so he's not like, you know, he's not allowed to go in the skate park, but yeah, he can go surf Waimea.
Yeah, he shouldn't be doing that.
Well, what's the difference, though? I mean, either way, it's pretty cool.
What it comes down to really is, do you want to be the hunter or the hunted? You know, how comfortable are you being hunted down, or how comfortable are you chasing it? So that's where it comes down to.
It all comes down to this for John Florence. He could just do it on his own, make the final of the Pipe Masters. He's done that before, and he'll win the 2017 world title. If he gets to the semifinals or even just the quarters and gets knocked out, then Medina has a shot. But he'd have to go on to win the Pipe Masters for the first time. He's finaled here twice in back-to-back seasons, so that's pretty wild there. If John gets knocked out the round before the quarters, that's round 5. Medina just has to make the final. Jordy's still in contention, but he'd have to win this event, final this event for the first time as well. And also, if John gets knocked out here in round 3, then Julian would still have that outside shot. So it's out of those guys' hands. John could kind of control his own destiny, but it's still the Pipe Masters at the end of the day.
No, exactly. And if Medina goes on to win this event, that'll be 3 events in a row, and it's been a while since anyone's done that, you know, to win. You know, back-to-back events, yes, but 3 in a row, that's a whole nother ballgame.
That's a big story for Gabriel Medina, #2 in the world. How do you think he felt in his first round heat, Pete? Because Miguel Pupo had that dreamy pipe bomb, but he still threw down a late takeoff, 8.5. He didn't really get smoked in this matchup whatsoever.
No, he didn't, and he looked comfortable. And he's been surfing out here each and every time it's been breaking, which really hasn't been all that much. So in the windy conditions, he's been out there surfing off the wall and, you know, been doing some amazing surfing. But yeah, you're right. It came down to this one wave. I mean, Miguel Pupo got one ultimate wave, which really was the best wave of that day, and took that win over Gabriel Medina. Of course, what that has done is set up this round 2 matchup against Dusty Payne.
I was impressed with this kid, Benji Brand. I mean, he beat Medina, but this was the difference. I mean, that's why we come here, to see waves like that. Miguel Pupo standing tall in a big pipeline barrel, but having the whereabouts in amongst all that spit to sneak out the bottom of it and create one of the biggest scores of the event so far.
When you think about it, Pupo, Medina grew up together, surfing Marcia, same slabbing kind of venue to prepare him for waves like this. That was Medina's bomb. He was well in this heat, but Pupo is trying to requalify as well. So separating himself from his good friends, world title hopes, sends him into the second round. When you look at the waves back on this highlight reel, Potts, this is definitely probably the favorite heat of the opening round of competition.
No, absolutely. I mean, there was so much pressure on these guys to succeed and make sure that they didn't go into that round 2, because that round 2 for the top seeds, Pete, it's one of the more dangerous rounds. I mean, you normally think, well, hang on a sec, these guys are the world's best. Round 2 should be an easy round for them, but it's not, is it?
No, it's not, especially when you throw wild cards such as what we have here. The caliber at Pipeline, generally those wild cards are going to come in. Again, nothing to lose and everything to gain by upsetting a title race. So it's fun to watch. That's why I was almost really excited to see round 2 get underway today, but we'll have to wait a little bit longer.
That's right. Medina went on a smaller right, needed a 4, got like a high 3. Pupo ended up waiting for the final decision to get that last score on the sand. A deserving win for Pupo. Wants to make a couple of heats to requalify, but it's all about a world title scenario for Medina. After he swept the European leg of the season, he said, okay, I'm thinking about a title now. For Medina, he's got to go at least to the quarterfinals for the Pipe Masters just to have a chance. So we got to see him just get to the final series. Anytime he's out before John, it's over. So we got to see how Medina runs to these early rounds, see him get to the quarterfinals to really see this true shot, since he's a guy with 2 wins this season, coming late, but also on John's home turf. Potts, do you think Gabriel minds driving by the Bonsai skate park and seeing all those graffiti artists throw down big trophies of John, seeing John posters everywhere, seeing the hats on the beach? Do you think he minds not getting that hometown support?
I don't think he minds, because he's had it in Brazil. I mean, you just got to go and have a look at Rio. It's covered in Gabriel Medina. So, you know, he's. I don't think that worries him too much. I think it feeds the fire. I think that's fuel for Medina. You know, and the thing too, if he wins his round 2, he goes 1 heat above John in a sense of he gets to control that momentum. So if he makes it, John has to, so to speak. So there's that little mini battle within the battle right there as well.
Condition-wise, Pete, knowing what Medina's capable of out here, is there any type of scenario that takes him out of the event in your mind?
Not really. No, I mean, totally. I mean, and this is for both surfers as well.
That's scary, too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what makes this title race so intense. It makes it so entertaining, is the fact that these guys are so good in any type of conditions that are thrown out here. Pipeline, one of the best and most unique waves on the planet, so it's going to have some sort of excitement tied to it no matter what. And I cannot wait.
That's right. The Vans Triple Crown of Surfing, one of the most prestigious titles that you could accomplish as a pro surfer. Needing to prove yourself in Hawaii is a big statement. Checking out the rankings coming into the final event, Griffin Colapinto, back-to-back finals, qualifying for the tour, but did not get the jump into the main event when he lost early in the Pipe Invitational. So the next guy we look at is Andino, Wiggly Dantes, Connor Coffin with a big win at the Vans World Cup of Surfing. And even Toledo keeps himself in 5th with a win at Haleiwa, missing Sunset, and he could go a long way with a win here at Pipe with 10,000 points on the line. Michel Perez seems like one of those guys that you'd have to pick every year to be a threat to win out the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing title. So we'll keep you posted. So far, the dream alive for Kolohe, who said before Haleiwa started, that's the whole reason why I'm here. I want to win a Triple Crown of Surfing title. So far, so good to back that decision. Thinking about the waves even further, though, on the Surfline forecast, tomorrow morning, Kieran said it could be one of our best chances to see barreling, backdoor, and pipe. Let's pull up the Surfline forecast, Pete. What are you looking at for first thing in the morning?
Well, we've got one more pulse of swell that's going to kind of show up before the end of the waiting period. And with that, we've got some weird, different types of winds. This is what everyone has been touching on. We've had all this northerly flow, which with all that northerly wind, we're going to have a change. It's going to go kind of this variable wind. There are going to be some southerly flow, which actually can be offshore here if it stays to that south, even going southeast. But we have swell. That's why I think that everyone's talking about the opportunities between tomorrow and into the next day, and then the fading of it on Monday. So, you know, hey, we've got an opportunity tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll probably wake up and it'll be fairly small. As you see today, decreases, and then we get, you know, the increase through tomorrow, which is going to be where we're going to see it through mid-morning. Hopefully it's there mid-morning. You know, we may go on hold a little bit, but definitely some swell through tomorrow and into the next day. And again, the winds are variable, so hopefully it stays in that offshore flow, and we're happy and we get some barrels done.
5 to 8 foot pipe is not bad, is it?
No, it isn't.
It'll be perfect little backdoor barrels. And
well, you still have to talk about that sand.
Yeah,
you know, I think that's something that's going to affect the lineup out here. It's going to make it a little bit more challenging. I mean, sometimes it could just flatten that thing out and make it a perfect little zone.
Nice and pretty.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So you never know with sand.
Fingers crossed. We have another great opportunity to get more insight on pipe and backdoor with a GoPro breakdown with Sebastian Zietz.
My name's Sebastian Zietz. We're at Pipeline, and this is the GoPro breakdown. Pipe and backdoor, it's a right and a left. Pipe is the left, backdoor is the right. They're both really intense waves, and I think probably the scariest waves that we have on tour. There's nothing really stopping the energy here, you know, it just comes straight in and hits the reef full force. And you know, one of the scariest things ever is looking down the drop of a pipeline wave and all the water draws off the reef and how steep it gets. And for me, the trickiest thing about pipe is just getting down it, being fully 100% committed.
What's your take on the pipeline, Kiva?
It's deep and deep. It definitely had some of the worst poundings of my life out here. If you can hang on through the suck back and get the spit, then you probably get rewarded.
Sebastian Zies, thank you so much for your version of the GoPro Break Breakdown. Once again, remember, tomorrow morning we could get things started. For Potts and Pete Mel, I'm about to put them on the spot.
Ooh.
Big time.
Uh-oh.
Gabriel Medina versus Dusty Payne. Starting with you, Peter. Will Dusty Payne create a huge upset in the world title race first thing in the morning?
We have Dusty Payne staying right next door to us. His energy level coming into both today, thinking that they were going to be competing, he was fired up. So I like Dusty Payne's chances, but I'll tell you who was right there, right at the beach marshal, ready to surf too, Gabriel Medina. So, I mean, you would have to say that this is an even matchup. You're asking me who's going to win that one?
That's right, Pete.
I'm going to say that Gabriel Medina is probably going to take that one and just make this world title race exciting finish throughout the rest of the event. I think everyone wants to see that.
Potts, are you going to agree with Pete Mel for the first time this season?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to. You know, I think Dusty's looking sharp. I think he's probably, for me, in the best place I think he's ever been. He's looking fit. He's looking healthy. He's keeping his emotions in check. So I can't wait to see Dusty back on tour. But I think Medina's going to be too strong on the day. There's too much at stake. And Medina's that kind of guy that doesn't let those opportunities go.
We also want to
What
hear
about
from
you, Joe?
you. Join us on Twitter,
now you're
on
gonna do
WSL, and on Instagram. Will it be Dusty
He
or
always fades
Medina in round 2, heat number 1? I can't wait to find out. 7:30 call tomorrow. Join us on
Joey.
WorldSurfLeague.com. We'll see you then. Aloha.
As you can see, those big barrels not really on offer, but it's going to see a different brand of surfing here today on day 9 of the event window.
Joel Parkinson parking it right in a sandbar hole. He's on the valve.
Falling for Pro, takes it.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.